Welcome to Side Notes. I'm out and about. We're at the Linsmore Tavern again. We're talking to gentleman Mark from Mark T, the Jerry Garcia Tribute Band. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I know August 9th was the anniversary of the tragic passing of Jerry Garcia. 1995, he passed away from a heart attack. I went through Jerry's information on the internet, and it talked about the influence that he had growing up, rock and roll, bluegrass, the Grand Ole Opry, and the list went on. What were some of the influence you had growing up with the music?
Well, when I was a kid, my dad was a trumpet player. So when I was a little kid, I was really lucky. I got to go to the Palais Royale almost every weekend. I'd go to George's Spaghetti House, and I was going seeing some kind of iteration of some jazz guys somewhere. My parents were both into Stan Kenton and Woody Herman, so very progressive jazz. My dad turned me on to bebop. My mom was a piano player, or classically trained piano player. And then I guess it all went off the rails for me when I was about maybe, I don't know, 12 or so, when I started listening to the Dead. So that's what kind of everything went hell in a bucket, I guess, if you will. But yeah, so I mean the Beatles and all that kind of stuff. But.
Well, most people grew up with the Beatles. I mean,
Yeah.
But what was one of the? Actually, I always have to ask people what famous Beatles song is your favorite. I know mine was the one that the Sgt. Pepper Lonely Heart Band. I love that album, but Sgt. Pepper 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. I love that song.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever really had a favorite. We used to sit around like when we were, like probably about like 7 or 8, and we'd sit there and mock along to things on like badminton rackets and play air guitar and badminton rackets on the porch and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's not really one song for me. I can't really narrow it to that because there's so much and it's all so good. I might have been able to at some point in my life, but now I don't know if I don't really have favorites anymore. They all have some kind of different impact.
When the first time you listened to Jerry's music, what were some of the thoughts that stuck out in your mind listening to that music?
Wow, this acid's good. No, I don't know. I don't remember. It just kind of it wasn't something that you really thought about consciously how you could tell it back to. It was just kind of, it's one of those things that just grabs you. It's kind of like, I don't know, when you're chewing on something, you're drinking something. I don't know what it was. It's just one of those things that just inherently just kind of go, okay, this works for me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it. It just kind of grabbed me.
Right before the interview, you were talking about the fact that you're in the process of setting up a website for Mark T.
Yeah.
But you have another project that you're involved with band-wise.
Yeah, Days of You. Yeah.
And there's members of the Mark T band.
Yeah. So Steve Hamill, bass player. Steve and I have been playing together for about 25 years. Steve and I are both in Days of You. That band just made a record in the last year and a half.
Also, there's a young gentleman just sitting over by the window over there.
That's Shaky. Yeah, I like hanging out with Shaky. I like the way he played and all that kind of stuff. And we did a New Year's gig with the Caution Jam guys at Grossman's. And I said, hey, you want to do something else? And he came out to my house. He came out to my house at one point, and we kind of sat around, threw some tunes around. And I had fun, and then came out some gigs. And what I was going to do is, instead of rehearsing a band and then going and finding gigs, I thought that I've always wanted to do it the other way, go find gigs, and then that forces everything to come together. So enough room moved out that, I could accommodate schedules and stuff like that.
Or some places you travel to, like, in regards to gigs, that really stand out in your mind?
Well, this band hasn't traveled yet, but Days of You's toured across the country a number of times. I did it for a long time. East Coast USA, West Coast. The place that I think that I always wind up talking about is probably the Townhouse Tavern in Sudbury, because that was pretty much the lowest point that I've ever played. Well, not lowest point, but it was probably the nastiest place I've ever played. But then, we've played, some really, really nice places too.
One thing, looking at Jerry's past, one thing I noticed that he was very big in promoting peace. He was involved with one thing with Pete Seeger. What is your thoughts on his move when he started getting involved with the peace movement? What is your thoughts in reference to today?
I mean, what's going on today, I don't really know if it's that much different than what's gone on for the last 10,000 years, except it's just the speed by which we receive information. But I'm probably like most people. I just wish I wish everybody would just get their shit together and figure out how to get along somehow. I mean, you're here for a very short time, so you might as well try to do something positive with it instead of all this other nonsense.
And you just put you just put a record out.
Yeah.
The website that's available on?
It's on iTunes, but on daysofyou.net.
And they can actually contact you through that website?
Yep, there's a Facebook presence on there too. I don't think we have a Twitter thing. No, we don't have a Twitter thing. Pardon me. The Facebook page and the website are maintained by somebody else. So friends of ours in that band.
You've been playing since 1983.
Well, I've been out gigging, trying to do something in Toronto since 1983. We've been playing longer than that.
So if you take a look at that time to now, what are some of the things that you'd like to pass on to the young, up-and-coming artists?
Just do it because you love it and just don't stop. I think the worst thing that can ever happen to you when you're playing music is that as you get older, hopefully you're going to get better.
And listen to good music.
Yeah, listen to good music for God's sakes, please. Yes.
That's a broad definition. Listen to good music.
Yeah.
5 bands that stand out in your mind that did really good music people should listen to nowadays.
That they should listen to nowadays?
We're talking, the bands of the past, but nowadays they should listen to that stuff.
Oh, I think they should listen to the Grateful Dead. I think they should listen to the band. They should probably listen to the Little Feat, Allman Brothers, and Jimi Hendrix. Probably. Yeah. I mean, you can go on and on. But I've been to Nashville a few times, and one of the things that I loved that keeps bringing me back there is that contrary to what a lot of people do believe, there is so much good music out there. The problem is it's not coming to the mainstream. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the music that we grew up with didn't really come to the mainstream either. Right? So when I grew up listening to the music the bands I just named, except for maybe Hendrix, all my friends in high school were listening to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and a lot of that kind of stuff. I didn't really go down that road. I mean, I did, going to, friends' parties and stuff, but I didn't really spend a lot of time there was a small group of us listening to this other stuff. And what's nice about today is I think that there's still music, maybe not like that, but there is really, really good music out there with some killer players right now that's just not coming to the forefront. There's bands like Sean Camp, and he's a Nashville songwriter, 18 South, John Hyatt. I mean, like, what really is kind of weird is that being a guitar player, I start talking about things like that. And I know so many people that play music, and they go, I never really listened to John Hyatt. I go, this guy's one of the best songwriters I've ever heard. So I would say just listen to as much as you can. Hopefully you take something good. But back to the peace thing. Maybe what people do need to do is spend more time listening to music, the whole record or the whole thing, and maybe they will put them in a good enough state of mind where they're not caught up in all this other nonsense, right? There's all these other distractions. If you just listen to music, then that can fix it right there.
Well, it's been a great time talking to you, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.